What's the toughest part of the Steelers' schedule? And what are the top stories for rookie camp? We're going to talk that right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm Chris Carter, going to be joined by Jenna Honor of Channel 11 WPXI. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things of the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find this show on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, and YouTube. If you're watching this video on YouTube, hit the like button on this video if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button to our YouTube channel to get all of our daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content, our bonus questions episodes, and our breaking news updates. We thank you for making the Locked On Steelers podcast your first listen every day. Now, I know you're probably upset that Jenna Hunter is not on my left, right? How does that work on screen? I actually don't know, but point being, Jenna Hunter will be here in a bit. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to make it after the schedule release, so we recorded before the schedule release talking about Steelers rookie camp because that does open today, this Friday, and go through Sunday. Media will be there Friday through Saturday. I was going to be there, but unfortunately, I have COVID. I'm battling that right now. Right now, I'm feeling good, which is why I'm recording. So we're gonna knock this out as fast as I can. We're getting you guys the updates on the Steelers schedule. So as you probably saw, the Steelers schedule is set now. You've got the Bengals in week 1 on the road. We kind of knew that had leaked out, but then they come home with their first home opener, playing the Patriots at Heinz Field. 2 1:00 games to start the season. I like 1:00 games. I'm happy with those. But then it starts to get funky around the middle weeks. You get the Browns short week Thursday on the road in Cleveland. Will Deshaun Watson be playing? There's been a lot of talk about that suspension. Maybe it won't be coming. Maybe it will be coming. If he's suspended, you probably assume he'll be missing that game. If he's not, it'll be a major talking point for that week. But then you're at home against the New York Jets, a game against Zachary Wilson, a team that I think drafted really well this year in the New York Jets. Could Robert Saleh be turning things around? We'll find out. Then on the road against the Bills, a team that's going to be hungry to beat the Steelers. This is where I think the Steelers' most difficult part of the schedule is. I know that people are going to say the end of the schedule. I'll finish out reading out the schedule. On the road against the Bills for Sunday at 1:00. Back home against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers Sunday 1:00 in mid-October. Then Sunday Night Football on the road at Miami. Then Sunday at 1:00 on the road at Philadelphia before you're at week 8. Then there's your week 9 bye. You have a week 10 home game against the Saints, another week 11 home game against the Bengals. Also, that's Sunday Night Football. They have 5 primetime games. That's awesome. And then you get week 12, Monday Night Football, back-to-back primetime games on the road at the Colts, then at the Falcons for a 1 p.m. game when you start December games, December 4th. The Ravens on December 11th at home at Heinz Field. Then on the road with the Carolina Panthers on December 18th. Then Christmas Eve, the Raiders at home. It'll be 50 years in a day from the Immaculate Reception. That's pretty cool. Then New Year's Day on the road at the Ravens, and then finishing the season off week 18 against the Browns with that time to be determined because they always do that now to kind of wait to see where playoff races are. Now, I know some of y'all might be thinking, well, the toughest part of the schedule is the last part, right? You're going to get the Raiders, who were a playoff team last year and beat you. You're going to get the Ravens, who were hurt up last year. And yes, you've swept them for 2 years in a row, but they're going to be hungry. They're going to be healthy. They had a really good draft. Everyone likes their guys. That's going to be a tough game. And then you're going to have the Browns at home. If Deshaun Watson's playing this year, he will be playing. No suspension would probably last that long. So you're going to have a tough stretch there. And then here's the thing. Before those last 3 games, you do have the Panthers on the road. That could be a break. We don't know how good the Panthers will be, but you have the Ravens right before that. So you get the Ravens in a span of 4 weeks and less than a month, really, that you get them to play them twice within that stretch there. But 4 games of your last 5 coming against AFC teams that we all expect to be competing for playoff positioning. That's going to be tough. But that's not the toughest part of the schedule. Toughest part of the schedule for me is that week 5 through week 8 stretch. Let me explain why. First of all, 3 of those 4 games are on the road. The first of which is at the Buffalo Bills. Now, I know some of you Steelers fans are thinking, wait a second, Chris, they just beat the Bills on the road. They should be fine there. I do think that they can sneak the Bills again and beat them again. But that Bills team is mad. They were mad last year when they lost that game. There will be some fire up under them to not lose again to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, there's a chance the Steelers' offense is better than last year because they'll have a mobile quarterback. It'll be a different look. Maybe we'll see something new. But best believe the Bills aren't going to come out slacking. I think they're gonna be a tough challenge. Then right after the Bills, you have Josh Allen. Then you get Tom Brady. That's a 1-2 mega punch of quarterbacks. And you got the Buccaneers. It's not just Tom Brady. They still got Mike Evans. They still got that defense. They still got playmakers all over the place. That's going to be a tough team. And that's going to be a crazy 1-2 punch. And if you're thinking, well, the Dolphins and the Eagles, not so much, hold on a sec there, because those are back-to-back road games. And back-to-back road games at the end of the Steelers' opening 8-game stretch. I think that the Dolphins, we don't know how good Tua Tagovailoa is going to be, and if he's playing well, that can make this interesting. Maybe you get to him. But the Eagles, the Steelers, I know that you're probably thinking, Jalen Hurts, that doesn't scare me. The Steelers have never won at the Link. And it's a weird thing. Every time I think they go there and I think, oh, they're the better team in this, they get beat bad. They get mercilessly pounded. And it's been different teams every time, but it seems to be a curse. And it's vice versa too. The Eagles have never won at Heinz Field in the regular season. The Steelers have never won at the Link in the regular season. It's some weird curse that exists with the Pennsylvania teams, but it's there. But that's why I say these four games, that is your toughest stretch if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. But here's the counter flip to that. If the Steelers get through, that'll be your first 8 games. Let's say they trade the first 2 games 2-2. They start with the Bengals and the Patriots. Let's say they beat the Patriots, beat the Jets, and lose to the division rivals. But then they go 3-1 in those last 3 games. People will change up if one of those 3 wins, if they're able to beat the Bills or the Buccaneers and have a winning record going into the second half of the season. I can very much see that. If you look at a lot of the gambling sites, the Steelers are set at 7.5 wins or things like that. I think that's low for this team. I think they could be better than that. I also think that if they come through, I also think they could beat the Bengals. I'm not high on the Bengals, and you've heard me say this on the show before. They could experience some Super Bowl blues. A lot of teams that lose the Super Bowl, unless you're the Chiefs or unless you're the Patriots when they had Tom Brady, you usually struggle. I mean, you look back, the Carolina Panthers when they had Cam Newton, the Atlanta Falcons when they had Matt Ryan, even the Los Angeles Rams, who 2 years later won the Super Bowl, but the next year after that, we saw they lost to Devlin Hodges. Crazy, right? Right. So I look at these teams on their list. The Steelers would have an opportunity. It's the toughest part of their schedule, but this is something that Mike Tomlin often says. They love to run to adversity. This could be a time of the season where it's October. Tomlin's teams have notoriously been good in October. If they can hit a run, set a really strong tone, get into that bye week at 5-3 or 6-2, I think it will change a lot of the tones about this team, because then if you've beaten a Joe Burrow and a Josh Allen, or a Joe Burrow and a Tom Brady, or you mix in Deshaun Watson in there, there's going to be talk about this Steelers defense being great. There's going to be talk about who's the new Steelers quarterback. Is the offense functioning? I think there's a little bit more reason to be optimistic. And then, of course, once you get done with that Eagles, you're in the Week 9 bye. And I think the bye week's perfectly positioned for the Pittsburgh Steelers. In Week 9, then you load up for the last 9 games. 8 + 9 = 17. I did that right. But there we go. But then you load up and you get 2 home games after that. That, to me, will be a big determining factor for the Pittsburgh Steelers in just reading the schedule. Now, of course, it's May. It's super early. We don't even know who the starting quarterback's going to be. This is all speculation, but this is what happens when they do a schedule release, and you got to talk about it and make it part of your show. So thanks again for checking that out. But like I said, we're going to preview rookie camp. All the storylines you could want to talk about with Jenna Harner. She'll be on here in just a minute here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. So stay tuned for that, because we're going to have Jenna on here. But first, we got to talk to you guys about betonline.net. Betonline.net is your #1 source for all your betting stats and sports information. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NBA playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs, and Major League Baseball, all in full swing right now. BetOnline.net is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in the action when you visit BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Joining me is Jenna Harner of Channel 11 WPXI. Y'all know her. Y'all love her. What's up, Jenna? How you doing?
Chris, I am doing wonderfully. Happy Friday. My goodness, it's been a crazy week. It's just been nuts because we've been on the road covering the Penguins, and we obviously had the schedule release, so much going on, but it's nice to be with you.
It's very nice to be with you. I gotta say, Jenna, it touched me when you talked about how you used to be covering the college hockey playoffs in Madison Square Garden. Then you said you want to be back there covering playoff hockey in the Garden, and there you were doing just that. You go for all the progress that you continue to make in your career. We root for you here on the show. But Jenna, I want to talk to you about where you'll be this weekend with Steelers rookie camp. Opening up Friday and then continuing Saturday. Sunday is closed to the media, but there will be a third day of rookie camp practice. Jenna, rookie camp, everyone's going to be talking about Kenny Pickett. That's going to be the number one storyline. How does he look? What's he doing on his first days? How does his arm look? How is he throwing? All those things are going to be asked about. But I think that a lot of this is also just, rookie camp is rookie camp. It's whatever. It has very little impact on, what happens down the line. But it is the first sense of thing. The biggest thing that I look for from Kenny Pickett is, do we hear the same vibe from him about knowing the playbook and being able to understand the concepts that they're asking him as a quarterback, the way we heard about Devin Bush as a linebacker and Ryan Shazier as a linebacker when they were first-round picks coming into the Pittsburgh Steelers? But what are things that you're looking forward to seeing, being able to see this guy in a Steelers uniform for the first time after we saw him in a Pitt uniform for 5 years?
It's going to be phenomenal. I think that this is such an exciting time of year, too. I think people kind of get lost in a little bit of the, oh, my God, it's the first time we're going to see Pickett. How does he look? What is this? Yes, of course, we're going to be looking at that. Of course, we're going to be studying all that, too. But for these guys, especially all of the class, it's just them kind of getting their really first taste of life in the NFL. How do the Steelers do things? What's the routine like? How do you get yourself ready for everything that you're going to need to get ready for when things really start to ramp up, come training camp time, come OTAs, all of that. So this is kind of just them getting that first taste. I'm excited just to kind of see, again, like you were saying, talking to Kenny Pickett, seeing, where he's at with things, how he feels he's starting to adapt to life in the NFL. I mean, we heard him talk about at his introductory press conference about how excited he was. He's like, I'm ready for the playbook. Like, let's go. I'm ready to study this. I'm ready to get down. We know he's talented at doing that because, again, coming from Pitt, he has that caliber of a work ethic. His work ethic is never going to be a question. I don't think that's ever going to be anything. But you and I were talking before. I'm kind of excited to kind of just see what he goes out on the field and does. If there's connections that he has among the two receivers that they drafted, how they start to work together, the leadership he potentially looks to take, because usually you hear so much, like you said, from Devin Bush, from Ryan Shazier. Oh, they come in, they're already doing this. They're already calling plays. They're already doing X, Y, and Z. What are going to be those key things when we talk with the coaching staff too, the first couple of days? What are they noticing about Kenny Pickett? What are they hearing? How is he kind of working with these other guys? I mean, when we talked with some of the picks, they had said, on their conference calls after they got drafted, and we asked them about Kenny Pickett. They're like, oh yeah, fake slide. Like, I can't wait to get to work with him. So just kind of the relationships as they're starting to get established. I know people want to read a lot into what's going to happen over this weekend. I don't think there needs to be any crazy things. Oh my God, does he look fantastic? Does he not? He's getting adjusted into life in the NFL. That's pretty much what this weekend is going to be, but it's going to be fun.
I think it is going to be fun. It's fun. It's funny to think about, we've just spent probably the last 10 years with Ben Roethlisberger. When he comes into training camp, how slim does he look? Does Ben look slim, or does he not look slim? Does he look fat? We used to deal with that all the time. And now it's a whole new ball game with Kenny Pickett. I'll tell you something else. And obviously, connection with Pickens and Austin, who will be there, and we'll get to them in just a second. That's going to be prime. But there was a video the Steelers released themselves. They do their YouTube series, and I suggest you go check out their channel. They do great stuff. But they showed Kenny Pickett getting off the bus that the Steelers got, bringing him back to the facility. And when he arrived there, you saw the Pitt football team, the team that he just graduated from, all out there in force to meet him, hugging him, cheering him on, doing everything. That is a sign. If you don't understand, when I've been talking all this time about how beloved that man was in that locker room, how much of a leader he was, and how everybody on that roster had his back going into battle, going into games, that is a big part of who Kenny Pickett is, and I think why the Steelers wanted him so much. So one other thing to look for is, what kind of relationships does Kenny Pickett even establish in rookie camp? Do Pickens and Austin become his boys? And we know Cam Hayward said he's gonna have his locker right next to him, but what's gonna become of that? And does that become a leg up that Kenny Pickett might use going into OTAs to try to because he's going to be battling with Mitch Trubisky and Mason Rudolph for playing time?
No, absolutely. And this is going to be something too that we're going to kind of see. How does he establish these relationships? What kind of leadership role does he take? Because I'm sure for him too, rookie minicamp coming in is a little bit easier because they're all on the same field. And I don't think it's going to be difficult by any means for Kenny Pickett to come in and figure out the type of leader that he wants to be, because he's been that leader at Pitt. And he's even talked about, working his way through his college career and establishing those relationships, establishing the foundation for the type of leader he wanted to be that way. So of course it's going to be kind of a, almost think of like kneading clay or kneading Play-Doh. It's not a finished product. He's going to probably be figuring it out. But coming into rookie minicamp and establishing yourself as a leader is going to be a lot easier than when he goes into OTAs and when he goes into training camp over the summer. And I think a lot of the rookies along with him, they respect him already. Again, we kind of just talked about that, but I think you can kind of see they know what it means to be a number one draft pick. And I think Pickett knows obviously that as well, but just kind of having that foundation for how do I want to be a leader? What type of way do I want to work with these guys? That's going to be a big part of this process too.
I agree, and that's a big part of this is establishing that connection early on. And if we don't see them buddy and hanging out and going out and drinking on the South Side, we're not saying anything like that. But we're saying that these are the times when we might not hear about these stories until maybe in training camp. When if George Pickens opens up and says, "Hey man, like Kenny Pickett took me out," because that's another thing that Kenny Pickett actually might have on his side is he's been in Pittsburgh. He knows all the places to go to, so. That could be a fun after hours story for the Steelers as far as like, hey, so when we finished rookie camp, like, George Pickens, DeMarvin Leal, all these rookies that are coming in here, Kenny might have been like, hey guys, we're going over to this place over here because that's the place to be in Pittsburgh. So, maybe he took him to Mike's Beer Bar on the North Shore to get some steaks on a stone, something like that. But point being, I think there's a lot of cool things that could be talked about what Kenny Pickett could do for rookie camp. And at the end of the day, it's 3 days. It's more of an orientation than anything else. So it's not something that Steelers fans should fret about. This is more so about, hey, what cool things do we learn this weekend?
No, absolutely. And how do these guys interact with each other? What are their personalities like? Because we're going to get to learn about all of them as players and bring it to you guys as viewers, as listeners, as fans. That's what I'm excited about too. The fact that hopefully, we know that locker room access is coming back. We don't entirely know the way that this whole weekend's going to work, but we're going to be able to have face-to-face, one-on-one conversations with these guys. We're going to get to know them. They're going to get to know each other, and they're going to get to know what Pittsburgh is, what the Steelers are, all of that thing. Seeing that part of it is going to be really cool too, I think.
It's going to be really cool. But like you said, we also got to see how those other guys fit in. We're going to talk about, we spent a lot of time talking about Kenny there. I want to talk to you about the receivers, DeMarvin Leal, Connor Hayward, all the other guys we should be looking forward to in rookie camp and our first looks at them in just a minute here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. But first, we got to talk to you guys about Built Bar. Of course, y'all know summer is right around the corner. It's getting hot outside, which means you're going to start going on more adventures. And when you're going on adventures, the best thing you can do to help yourself is to pack yourself some healthy but delicious snacks on the go. And the best way to do that is get Built Bar. When you get a Built Bar, remember, you're getting something that's healthy and delicious. It's covered in chocolate, but it's great for you, and it's light on you, but it's giving you that protein that you need to keep going. All Built Bars and Puff Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. If you haven't tried the Built Puffs yet, these Puff Bars are amazing. They come in flavors like banana cream pie and even churro. They taste like protein-infused marshmallows, just saturated with flavor. You're going to love them. And even if you don't, Built Bars are still amazing. And there's so many different flavors. In fact, you can get a mixed box that will include a bunch of different flavors of Puffs and a bunch of different flavors of Built Bars, right available and delivered to your door, including 12 different flavors in that box. So there's something for everyone. My personal favorite is double chocolate on the Built Bar side. It's so nice. I had to do it twice with the chocolate on the outside and the chocolate on the inside. But most Built Bars, the thing is, with all that chocolate, I still only consumed 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and 4 net carbs, but I got 17 grams of protein. Compare that to the average candy bar where I try to eat chocolate, but not as much. and I'd still have to eat 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. The choice is easy. Go get yourself a Built Bar. And when you go to Built.com, they have all your different flavors, from banana cream pie, raspberry, double chocolate, mint chocolate, so many more that you can find at Built.com. When you go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED 15, LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your next order when you order Built Bars at Built.com. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm Chris Carter. She's Jenna Harner, and we're talking about rookie camp previews. Now, let's talk quickly about the two receivers that everyone's going to be looking at: George Pickens and Calvin Austin III. Now, Jenna, I think interesting thing about George Pickens is how smooth does he look, because this is a guy who tore his ACL last spring. So we're still just like a year and a couple months out of him tearing his ACL. He only played part of the season for Georgia, which was a reason why a lot of people thought he fell down the draft boards. I think a big part of this is how good does he look, how smooth, how fast, how springy, how smooth does he look, and does he look like he's back to playing 100% football? Because then that might be a very good sign about how he can hit the ground running for the Steelers.
Oh, absolutely. And that was something, I believe it was Kevin Colbert after the draft talked about, just how much progression they've seen. And that was one of the reasons why they felt so confident in drafting him where they did. That is going to be a big thing, though, because again, he worked his way back to play with that Georgia team at the end of the season. It was such a short recovery process. So, and also too, I think, college athletes have a ton of tools at their disposal in order for rest, recovery, trainers, all that stuff. But when you take it to the next level in the NFL,
it's a whole different ball game.
So he's going to have more, trainers, physical therapy options. I mean, they have, granted, I'm looking at it and, you look at college and things like that. You're like, okay, they probably don't have all this technology. I'm sure there is a little bit of it, but when it comes to like the cryotherapy, the ice things, everything that they have, I don't even know if I can go into half details about it because I don't even know all the complexities of it. Basically what I'm trying to say is there's a lot more tools at their disposal when you're in the NFL compared to when you're in college, and they already have a lot in college. So he's going to be coming in. They know where he's at physically. They know what he's going to bring, but it is going to be intriguing just to kind of see how he looks when he gets back on the field. If he is still kind of, has a couple things he needs to tweak, or he wants to kind of take that next level to get to, or if he already comes in and is like, oh yeah, no, full speed ahead. I'm fully ready to go.
The other guy, of course, is Calvin Austin III. Now, Calvin Austin is a guy who you see his 40-yard dash time at 4.32, and you're like, my goodness, that man is fast. But you also look at his tape and you see how quick and how shifty he is. I wonder, and this might be something to look at with rookie camp. It's something that you'll get to view firsthand. My biggest thing is, how many different places will he line up this year? And will we get a hint of that in rookie camp? Because this is a guy who, you look at his build, he's 5'9", he's short, he's fast, he's quick. He's a guy that some people say, oh, just put him in the slot. But we saw him play on the outside in college. Can he play on the outside in the pros? I'd love to see if in rookie camp if the coaches do have confidence in him to line him up in several different spots over the field.
Yeah, and see how they can mix it up, because his versatility is something that a lot of people talked about. I know I'm excited to see if there's going to be any jet sweeps, because I think jet sweeps were built for this guy. I really do.
They absolutely were.
Ooh, and coming into Matt Canada's offense, Matt Canada's true offense, that's something else I'm actually kind of excited to see with this rookie class, because you kind of have those, I don't want to say, building blocks in a sense, but he'll really be able to kind of see, okay, we have Kenny Pickett, we have the receivers. Let's kind of get some things a little bit in motion here and see what we have to work with and see how this is going to be implemented, because we can kind of go back to even what we've been saying last year, where it wasn't Matt Canada's offense, but it was also Matt Canada's offense tailored towards what Ben Roethlisberger could do.
Yeah.
So now you have, okay, Matt Canada and Kenny Pickett working together, because that has been a long time coming. Kenny was so excited talking about that when we talked with him when he was drafted. And I think that is going to be an interesting relationship to see too.
It is. And what's really funny is people don't realize that Matt Canada was the offensive coordinator at Pitt when Kenny Pickett was recruited there, and then Matt Canada left Pitt. So Kenny Pickett was looking forward to working under Canada, and then it never happened. And now he's here in Pittsburgh again.
Yep.
with Matt Canada as offensive coordinator. That is a crazy story when you think about it in that way. But yeah, Calvin Austin, where he lines up, how he's used, the jet sweep is going to be, I think, a big part of this. I've said it a lot. Josh Taylor said it on this very show. The options for that, how that could open things up for the Steelers and could be a nice wrinkle added to this offense, could be a big improvement for what they were able to do from last year. But moving on, I want to just at least the defensive player in the room when it comes to this, because they only drafted one in the first 4 rounds, and that of course was DeMarvin Leal at Texas A&M, defensive lineman. I've talked about how at Texas A&M they put him over the tackle and outside of the tackle 66% of the time when he was playing at Texas A&M in his senior year, and it just seemed like, hey, he's more of an edge guy, and some people thought it was that, but the first inclination we got after he was drafted that he's going to play a bit more inside. I still think he's a guy that they'll try to move around a little bit. They'll use his versatility, but I do think that it'll be interesting to see, do we get more of an inclination of what they want him to be specifically in this rookie camp?
Yeah. Are we going to kind of see where they hope for him to be? Or is it going to be a lot of the, hey, we like you here, maybe we'll switch it out a little bit? Is it going to be a little more, we're going to try you with everything? Or again, it's going to be 3 days. So it's going to be a small sample size to work with, but where do they see him fitting? How do they see him fitting in? And what do they see from him? Again, with all these rookies kind of coming in, where's the baseline? Where are they at? We know their ceiling. We've talked about that kind of consistently too, what they can be capable of. But hey, where are they coming in to start at? How flexible can they be? And where are we going to see them exactly fit in? And what do we see as the Steelers' vision? Because sometimes it's easy to kind of decipher, oh yeah, no, definitely this guy's going to play here. He's going to be a tackle. He's going to be more of a guard. But how is it going to shift in that way? I think it's going to be really, really intriguing.
I think it's going to be very intriguing, and it's going to be an interesting telling point about how the Steelers are able to operate. As a defensive front, we still don't know about Stephon Tuitt. We still need to learn where his status is. I don't think that the drafting DeMarvin Leal was a sign either way about Stephon Tuitt's status. And I think we'll still have to learn about what that actually is as time moves forward. Maybe we get a better sense when OTAs open up. We'll see. But before we go, we got to talk about some of these other guys that are around. One of the bigger stories for the Steelers that was of the latest draft picks was Connor Hayward, Cam Hayward's younger brother, coming from Michigan State, a guy who played tight end / fullback / whatever they told him to with the Spartans. And there's a bit of excitement here on the idea that you're getting the younger Hayward. There was the cute interview moments on NFL Network when like Connor Hayward couldn't get his camera right, and Cam was like, "Come on, you're already messing up. What are you doing?" So like those things are cool, but I do think there is a sense of excitement that, like, man, if that dude is as hard of a worker as his brother is, I don't care that he's a 6-foot tight end / fullback, he's going to find a way to contribute. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what if anything, we hear of his first steps on the practice field.
Yeah, and what his identity is going to be, because as much as we're kind of looking at him as, yes, this is Cam Hayward's little brother, what a cool story, the Steelers have 4 sets of brothers, all that type of thing, he's going to want to come in and create his own identity, because he would have done that anywhere else he's going to go. He knows coming in, okay, yeah, I'm Cam Hayward's little brother, haha, I'm sure we're going to see a Cam Hayward appearance at some point.
Oh, yes.
I can't wait for that. I want him to depending on where we watch practice, I want him to come out near us and just yell some stuff and then walk away, because I know that's going to happen. But for him too, he's going to kind of come in and try and create his own identity. Yes, he knows who his older brother is, what his older brother means to this team, because Cam Hayward means so much to the Steelers team, but he's also going to be like, hey, I'm my own player. I have my own things to do in terms of, I need to establish myself. I need to work hard. I need to prove why they drafted me and come in and say, here's how you can use me. Here's the type of player that I am. Here's what I bring to the table. And I mean, it's exciting. I think all of this is, obviously, but for him, how can he establish himself? Because, sometimes when you look at some of the lower draft picks, what are they going to bring to the table? What are they going to do? Are they just going to be a special teams role? But I do think with his interesting kind of build and, versatility that he has, I think they're going to try and figure out a really intriguing role for him.
I do think it's going to be interesting to see the different roles that they find for him, because he's a guy, it's interesting, covering college football. People don't understand. the roles in college football can be much more diverse than you hear in the NFL because of how many different types of players there are, because rosters are so much bigger and there's so many more colleges than there are NFL teams. But like if you watch teams like Michigan State or like Virginia Tech, they had a guy who was like this. They'll be called a football player. They won't be given a fullback designation. They'll be football player. And that's kind of who Connor Hayward is. That they would line him up as a tight end, but they use him as a fullback, but they move him here, they move him there. And it's kind of like your job, because you can block, catch, run, and do all the things we have, you're going to just be all the things. And I think that might be where Matt Canada tries to find a place for Connor Hayward. They got Derek Watt, and I don't think that he's going to push Derek Watt out the door, but I do think that there's a chance that they find a way to say, hey, you know what? If you look back to Matt Canada's offenses back with Pitt, he loved to use his fullbacks for some creative things back then, especially when they were moving around and faking jet sweeps and pitching to this guy. Those type of things will be interesting to see there for sure. But you look at those guys, look at the receivers, look at Kenny Pickett. It's going to be an exciting weekend. The other guys out there that we can that you might be interested to hear about, there's of course Jordan Tucker, the new offensive lineman they brought in. Is he a guy that makes some push there? One guy that I've been telling everybody to look out for is Mateo Durant, the running back out of Duke, because he's a guy that I liked him a lot at Duke. So I watched him in the ACC. He was that offense, and he could be a guy that could be interesting to see if he would push himself up into the running back ranks and maybe even challenge Benny Snell a little bit for the backup role behind Najee Harris. But all that aside, Jenna, I want to get your thoughts before we go here. What's the biggest thing you're looking to from rookie camp? May not even just be the players, but what are some of the things that you're most excited about to see with the first step of the new season?
Oh, there's so much. It's an exciting time of the year. The schedule's coming out. Everything is just, it's starting again. It feels like, ooh, we're getting there. And you and I talked about this too, and I touched on it a little bit, but just being able to kind of hear these guys' stories, because we're going to have access to them that we haven't had since before the pandemic. We're going to be able to talk one-on-one with these guys, find out what makes them tick, why they are the player that they are, the great stories that they have that we haven't uncovered yet. I can't even think of all the random things, but why they got into football, all these little things that we haven't had in a couple years to give to fans, to give to viewers. I mean, having that access is going to be phenomenal again, being able to actually talk with these guys. I always love hearing too, and I'm sure we're going to talk to them about this, but what their impressions of the Steelers are, what it means to them to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, what the moment was like when they came through the Fort Pitt tunnel, all of that stuff. It's just going to be, it's exciting. It really is, just to be able to kind of see for them how new this all is, and kind of that, little bit of a twinkle in their eye being like, hey, I made it. I'm here. I'm at minicamp. I've dreamed of this moment since I was a kid, a little bit nostalgic in that way, but it's so exciting.
It is exciting, and we'll get to see a lot of that excitement this weekend. Jenna Harner will be on hand. I will not. I'm still stuck with COVID in the house, as I'm sweating in my house right now dealing with this. But Jenna, thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. We very much enjoy your time. We enjoy your work. Let people know they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
Well, thank you so much for having me. As always, it is my favorite part of Friday, so I'm always glad to be here. You can find me on Twitter at Jenna Harner 11. Lots of hockey tweets at the moment, but also some Steelers tweets with all the schedule release and all that. So definitely keep your eyes peeled. You can follow me on Instagram, Jenna_Harner. You can follow me on Channel 11, WPXI here in Pittsburgh. Lots of really cool stuff coming out. I want to plug a little story I did just because it's something I'm really, really proud of. But with this being Mental Health Awareness Month, I did a really special piece, a feature story talking about athletes and mental health and why they're bringing the conversations to the forefront, how they're looking to erase the stigma in the national spotlight all the way down to local spotlight here with former Pitt wide receiver Trey Tipton. His story is absolutely incredible. I had such an honor. Oh my gosh. I could listen to him talk for days. So I'll be posting that story on all my social medias. If you guys could, if you want to give that a watch, you want to take some time, because it's a really, really, really phenomenal story. I think it has a message that can resonate with a lot of people, but just an honor to tell.
Absolutely. Trey Tipton is an awesome individual. If anyone's ever heard from this man, watch this man, listen to this man, he is an inspirational story to anyone. So do go check out Jenna's talk with him. It's great stuff. Jenna, thanks so much for joining us here in the show. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Locked On Steelers podcast. We have a great weekend. We hope you have some fun playing. You going out. Maybe if you're in Pittsburgh, you're enjoying some of this nice weather out here right now. I'm Chris Carter. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. You can listen to me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, and you can watch me on YouTube. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button on the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get all of our daily Monday through Friday episodes, our bonus episodes, and our breaking news updates as well. You can also read me at dkpittsburghsports.com. Thanks so much. We'll be back on your screens and in your ears next Monday. We hope you have a great weekend.